Hey everyone, this is Eric B.Horn, and welcome to the second series of the CARE video blog. Um, for those who have never seen Nassar or myself, CARE stands for Career Advancement, Retention, and Enhancement. What we do on these video blogs is talk about career challenges, career trends, anything career related. And myself and also my co-host Nassar, what we do is we give you our opinions on how to go about the career topic. A little bit about me. Once again, my name is Eric B. Horn, and I'm the founder of Eric B. Horn Incorporated, which is a career management and professional development firm for college graduates and mid-level professionals. So enough about me. I want you to introduce my co-host of the CARE blog, Nassar.
Hey, Eric, thank you very much. Everyone, welcome back. This is actually episode 6. So if you have listened to us so far, thank you very much. We will love to continue this series and give you more valuable advice for your careers. But Eric asked me to introduce myself. My name is Nisar Ahmed. I'm the managing editor of the career publishing platform called Career.Advancement.Readiness.Enhancement, where we provide advice for job seekers and freelancers. I'm also the host of the Career Medis podcast and now the co-host of the CARE C.A.R.E. vlog. Today's topic, when we finished episode number 5, we mentioned that we will be talking about courage during this episode, and specifically courage during your job search process and why that is important, how that can help you. So Eric, maybe I'll ask you this question. I mean, everybody knows what courage is, right? It's a very common English word, but when it comes to your job search, why is that even a thing? Why is that even important?
My biggest example of that would be, first and foremost, when you're looking for a new job, you're putting yourself out there. That's the first thing. When it comes to your career, you're saying, hey world, I am available and I am looking for a new position. I'm looking for a better position. I'm looking for something that pays more. There's so many attributes when it comes to a job seeker, but the biggest thing is they're putting themselves out there. And they're putting themselves out there even more, especially if they're already working for a company, because a lot of times companies, they frown on the fact if their employees are looking for other opportunities, even though it's the job seeker's right to look for other opportunities, because when it comes to corporate America, nothing is stable. At any given moment, the executive board or the board of directors of a certain company can make the decision to wipe out 25,000 or 50,000 jobs just like that. And when a decision like that is made, a lot of times they don't take into account of the other individuals that may be affected by this job loss. So it takes a lot of courage to let the professional world know that I'm looking for another position. But it is your right to seek the best position possible, because at the end of the day, it's your career. And a lot of times, most job seekers, especially if they're loyal and hardworking individuals, they'll do any and everything in their power to stay. And then, like one of the topics we'll talk about in the future, they may ask for a raise or ask for more or promotion or whatever the case may be. But sometimes, like we were talking about before we start to record, sometimes one of the most courageous things you can do is take a step out and say, hey, I'm looking for new opportunities.
So it's interesting you said new opportunities, right? And courage could also mean, and that new opportunity can also mean within the company, right? So yes, you're trying to look for a job outside the company, but within, there might be another department, or even you want to get promoted. That itself takes a little bit of courage, right? Like going and telling your boss during your evaluation, listen, you asked me to do all these things, I'm doing this. On top of that, I want to get to the next level. And it's funny how many people do not want to verbalize that because they think that if they say they want to get promoted, it makes others feel bad, or they don't want to come across as very ambitious, which is kind of strange. And you and I, Eric, we say, if you're ambitious, put it out there. So that's one thing I wanted to add to what you just said, Eric. And for me, courage, I think it implies, yes, you're doing something out of the ordinary. So let's say we just continue from where we just spoke right now. You've already decided to get a job, or change your job, or get promoted. There are some things you can do that no one else is doing. I know it's easy to just ask a few friends out there, can you help me out? But it takes courage to go to a networking event, right? There are events happening every week, meetups. You can find events on Eventbrite. There's Facebook events and all that, where the goal is to network with other professionals. It takes courage to go there. I mean, you would rather go home and watch TV, or rather go home and do even reading. Like sometimes you just get so much about reading where you don't want to take action. So that's an example of a place where I would encourage courage. I remember a friend of mine, he had just come back from a trip to Asia for 6 months. He came back. Instead of doing the traditional thing of applying, he was a developer. So instead of applying for jobs, he just went to all these meetups where all the developers hang out. And he apparently found out a co-founder of a startup, and he got a job.
Wow.
He got a job. Like, they followed up with him, he got a job. So that's an example of one particular thing. Another example of courage is doing something out of the ordinary. Like, everybody goes to Monster or Indeed, LinkedIn, and they would just click a few buttons. It's easy because everybody else is doing it. But because everybody else is doing it, your competition is also high. I've heard of, myself included, I've heard of people where they do different methods. Sometimes they just pick up the phone and call the hiring manager. Hey, I just applied. I just wanted to get your feedback. I would say 7 to 8 years ago, I got a job like that. And they called me back and say, the fact that you followed up, I want you to come in an interview. Another friend of mine, he had a degree in psychology. He wanted to work in marketing, specifically digital marketing.
Mhm.
So what he did is he reached out on LinkedIn, CEOs, CMOs of different startups in Toronto. He invited many of them for coffee. Many of them declined. One of them said yes. He met that particular co-founder or the chief marketing officer for coffee. He impressed her with his experience. He told her, this is what I want. This is why I want to meet you. She invited him back to their office, and he got a job. And
Wow.
all these things are, to be honest, like, I would have never thought. Like, I read about this subject every day. I edit and write articles. We talk about this. It is nerve-wracking, even when thinking about doing something like that. But you're just imagine you're just getting in front of the line. Imagine there's a long lineup of people in your same shoes who want the same job. You're just cutting in line legally. And that's where courage is very, very important. And I'm sure I can talk about examples. So, Eric, I wanted to pass it on to you, and I wanted you to hear more of your thoughts on the subject.
Based off of the courage and being courageous, one of the words that stick out the most is risk, taking a risk. I'm a firm believer of no risk, no reward. Now, I'm not saying that you need to put a risk that you couldn't come back from, but there's a such thing as a calculated risk.
Mm-hmm.
And to piggyback, I have a very good friend. She's in the public relations industry, and she was in the middle of looking for a job, but she really wasn't pursuing it full time, right? So come to find out, the CEO of a major publication that is in the city of Chicago, she saw the CEO standing there by herself. And a lot of times when you see someone or a high-powered individual who are just as human as you and I mean, they put their pants on and their clothes on every single day in the same way that we do. But sometimes they look at it like, I can't approach that person. I'm so afraid of that person because they're in that position. But what she did was she just walked over to her casually, started a conversation. Somehow through the midst of the conversation, The CEO said that they were looking for a marketing manager. So she followed up with the CEO. The CEO took her resume and gave it to, actually, she hired her, I think, a couple of days after.
Wow.
Once again, right. But once again, if she did not have the courage and the understood the risk of, hey, you have a bigger risk by not doing or saying anything at all. You know, that's a bigger risk than, it's a guaranteed risk, because you know if you don't go over there, closed mouths get fed. Nothing is going to happen, right? But to take the risk to go over there, push her fear aside, and be courageous to just start a conversation, because her main goal was just to network with her as opposed to a job. Even though the CEO knew that this job needed to be filled, we don't know what, I mean, I never asked her how long was this position open for before she filled it. You never know. It could have been a position that it was been open for the past, you know, couple of months. And as a side note, that's another thing. Most jobs are, like 75% of jobs aren't even posted online. So to your point,
I'm having trouble connecting to the internet.
That's my Siri. Sorry about that.
No problem.
If if 25% of the jobs are listed online, everybody's going to go there. It's going to be a much longer line of people, and it's going to be more competition, to your point. But like I said, with my friend, just took the risk to go over there to have a casual conversation and look at the reward that comes from it. So to piggyback off what you're saying, right, you know, be courageous enough to do something different. Right, going talking to people. You're 9 times out of 10, your next job opportunity is going to be based off of who you know or who knows you, not just you looking online at a job. Actually, that's the easy way to do it. And easy doesn't necessarily mean effective, and easy doesn't necessarily mean it's going to work out in your best interest. But you know, so many people have the fear that, you know, the only way that they're going to find a job is if they can safely do it behind their computer. But to be honest with you, like with my company, once it gets to the point where I start hiring people, I'm not going to put any of my job listings online, because I want to see, like we're talking about, how courageous you are and how daring you are and how bad you want it to get the opportunity that is presented. So, but yeah, but the courage, you definitely have to equate risk in there also, because you have a lot of people who are very smart, very talented, but they're never going to take the risk to go after a new opportunity. But let me even take it a step further. You have a lot of people that aren't courageous enough because they're comfortable at their current job. Now, we both know that when it comes to your job, you always want to advance in some way, shape, or form. But advancement doesn't necessarily mean just position and pay. Advancement can also be, hey, I want to continue to challenge myself and learn something new, or I want to continue to meet more people, especially in IT. With IT, people take training because the technology is forcing them to go into another tool, another application, another methodology, or whatever, because that's how the nature of the IT industry is. However, it's not that many people who are being self-motivated to say, you know what, I'm bored at this job. I need something else to challenge me. So let me look for the next opportunity. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying this is for everyone in IT, but based off of my experience and the people that I've worked with and engaged with and interacted with, you know, they can be comfortable. And I'm not saying that you are a coward if you're comfortable, but you're not showing any courage to better yourself and to push yourself to learn more and to ultimately be better.
So, Eric, I think you and I have given some great examples, right? Like your friend who got the marketing manager position, a couple of personal examples. By listening to this, I hope the listeners have got some different ways to think about their job search. So That's one thing you have to keep in your arsenal. Always try to do something that is different. We both accept it. It is hard, but having the courage could save you days, weeks, even months of your job search process. So have some courage. And what we would love to do is, as we are getting close to this particular segment, we would love to hear your feedback. I mean, have you got a job where you did something different, like some of the examples that me and Eric did? Please let us know. Drop us a comment. We'll love to hear more, and we'll love to discuss that. If it's a great story, we'll discuss that in one of the interviews. Eric, you did mention a good point about people who want it, people who how much you want to get promoted. So that brings me to a good. That's actually a good segue, because our next topic on the next episode, we're going to be talking about how to be motivated, how to stay motivated during a job search. So so I look forward to the next interview to talk more about that. Any closing words, Eric, for this particular interview on courage?
Yeah, everyone has the same courage in them to find a new job and find a new opportunity. But sometimes people need to be pushed or motivated a little bit more. And one of the things that I'll take out of my back pocket, one of the biggest things that motivates me to look for new opportunities, whether it's in the business or whatever the case may be, is I always remember what's important to me and who I'm doing it for. For me, I'm doing it for my family, and that is the biggest motivation factor that I need, regardless of what's scary. To be transparent, I was just telling Nassar that this week I started a new job. The interview process was pretty intense. However, I knew going in, regardless of how nervous I was, I always tell myself that I'm the best person for this particular job. I'm the best person for the job, regardless of the other individuals that were applying for it. Me personally, I really didn't care about the other individuals that was applying for the job, because once again, that courage put me in a position where I'm the best person for it. Going through the interview process put me in a position where, okay, this is mine. I want it. What do I need to do to step up to show and prove that I'm the best person? I can prove to my bosses I'm the best person for the job. And, the questions were intense. My explanations were intense. I was nervous. Don't get me wrong. Just because I'm up here talking about career management doesn't necessarily mean that I still don't get nervous. If you remove the me being an author, you remove this blog, remove me being successful, I'm still a human at the end of the day. So I have emotions and fears and other things, but I make a decision to show it or to not show it. The feelings are still there, but I chose to use that as fuel and the motivation for my family to say, okay, what do I need to do to lock in and to answer the questions the right way? So they would, I wouldn't say have no choice, but they would know that, I'm the best person for the job. So regardless of you being, who's ever viewing this, if you are a mid-level professional, if you are a entry-level professional, even if you are an executive looking at this, everyone has the same amount of courage. You just need to know why you want to channel it and how to channel it, and you'll be in a very good position. So.
Okay, so that's a great wrap up. Thank you everyone for tuning in, and stay tuned for our next episode on the topic of motivation during a job search. Thank you.
Have a good one, guys.